Kent State football. See, all it took was for me to say the name and everything around me is blowing up. Since its inception upon the college football world back in 1962, the program has been known by many as the great basement dweller of college football. Rather than being that, Kent State is actually the one dead rodent the basement was built above. The legacy of success exceeded by Johnny Manziel's NFL career, which ended before it began. The baseball team and the NIT are the only two reasons Kent State hasn't been given the Kibby Dome treatment and thrown out of the FBS. Their football team would feel all the consequences and more of their athletic brethren's success. Only ever getting ranked 2 times in the time span of 63 years, they bring as much fear into their opponents on a yearly basis as Austin Peay does. Their shining days under their coaches are, as the name suggests, golden flashes, as a winning season is followed by 5 losing seasons, of which they combine for 10 wins. If you'd like an illustration of their dead-in-the-water status, I introduce you to 2018 Squidtard.
UAB at Akron. I think UAB wins this one. They're just the better team. Kennesaw State at Kentucky State. At Kentucky State. At Kentucky State.
Kentucky State.
Yep, I'm a real smart individual. Throughout these expenditures of football compared to the mysterious water in the trash bag, their latest coaching tenure they've had to suffer through sets the standard for what the Kent State program is all about. Suffering. Enter Kenni Burns. From the Illinois Capitol and former running back of the fighting vacant lot of the Big Ten, he knows everything and more about being in the state of perpetual rebuilding. While with the Hoosiers, he amassed an incredible, groundbreaking, extraordinary 2 yards. What? Once he graduated with his degree in I don't know, Kenny immediately took to the coaching tree, where he played leapfrog with lower division college programs until eventually coming across his longtime partner in chaos, the 7-5 merchant himself at Western Michigan, where he and PJ Fleck proved that Group of 5 programs don't have to stay in the dumpster for eternity. The 2016 Western Michigan team was one Wisconsin loss away from proclaiming themselves national champions the year before it was cool to claim fake shit. But it was then that Burns and Fleck thought to themselves, why lose to Wisconsin once when you can lose to them biannually? This led the boat to row where everyone goes to stay at 4th in the Big Ten West.
Minnesota!
From there, Kenny went on to be the coach of several memorable Golden Gopher running backs because their quarterbacks played like half-melted bowls of vanilla ice cream. The most well-known of these being Muhammad Ibrahim, who set school records for rushing stats and led Minnesota to their most prestigious season since World War II, which resulted in the Outback Bowl trophy. Who needs championships when you have bloomin' onions? His upgrade to assistant head coach eventually paved the way for some attention from desperate administrations. Very, very desperate administrations. How desperate, you may ask? Enough to consider hiring Quandale Dingle if he had a job application. Originally at Kent State, Sean Lewis left the program on a higher note than ever post his departure for the rights of Shador Sanders cameraman/coach. Said higher note was a 5-7 record, well above their status quo. They were riding high off of it because his tenure led them to their first ever bowl win. First ever bowl win. Holy mother of ass. Thus, through their coaching search, they needed a man with culture and a running game so Kent State can pretend they have an offense. On December 14th of 2022, their dreams became true as Burns took the mantle of the tanking Flashes, a 5-year contract for $2.7 million that I'm sure won't come back to blow up in their face. He brought Mark Carney with him from Charlotte along with many other specialists across their Group of 5 level. It would be a completely new taste for the program, as the team lost a significant amount of talent and would have to look within to find whatever's left. With his experience in the spreading of PJ Fleck's most famous term, I'm sure they'll represent the Flash family well. The results of this are that you feel more mooned than flashed. Whatever expectations the Flash family had were dashed and then some to the point they wonder if they'll ever win a game again. They have one of the easiest FBS schedules, but when your team is as talent dense as a human hair Indiana's schedule, there isn't much that can be done other than coaching above your pay grade. Turns out $500,000 a year isn't enough for that. The offense was an Oregon postseason level disaster. Last in the country in total offensive yards, lowest number of rushing yards in the conference from the so-called RB guru, and a scoring average of roughly 2 touchdowns. That might work if you're playing at Minnesota still, but Maction is higher class when it comes to scoring. The defense was somehow even worse than that, giving up on average 5 touchdowns a game. They allowed 300 yards a game, and on the rare times they actually get a turnover, it's followed by football IBS. The only high point of the season was a win over a 3-8 FCS school. Everyone else they played swiftly mutilated them with the exception of the 2-10 Akron Zips, who only finished out the season with one conference win against, you guessed it, Kent State. It's hard to ask a head coach in his first season at a barely alive school to come out and win even 6 games, but this is just disturbing to watch. I'm sure you think this is enough to change a contract, and the administration agreed, as they gave him an extension! Now hold on just 1 second. I need to fact check that. That can't be right. That cannot be right. There is no factual way. That is literally impossible. It can't. What? Why, yes, Golden Flashes. I too am a masochist. Burns knew that this can't last, though, as he drew the record on a sweatshirt as a reminder of this liquid lobotomy of a season. But on the bright side, the only place to go up from here is up. Oh, how naive you are. Everything up until now has been the precursor to the true madness that comes in 2024. You probably know the answer to this, but Ohio State fans can't do math, so the question must be raised. What could be a worse record than 1-11? I'm glad you asked.
To see this guy maybe carry the ball 25 times, he can catch it out of the backfield as well.
Holstein, deep shot for Kenny, jumps in, and it's caught. To the air again, and that is caught. Well, this is going to the corner of the end zone.
Hohenstein rolling out, has his man wide open, Gavin Thompson. Carchman in the end zone, and intercepted.
What the hell is even that? Short, Bishop. Boy, busted throw, and there. One of the long is going to touch Singles Johnson. Bueller again, catch made. Third down, they're going to take a shot downfield. McCray in stride makes the catch.
Handoff right side, off to the races. I just can't.
Touchdown.
Kickoff return for a touchdown. Now Coleman over the
final play of this third quarter, and you talked about over the top. Back of the end zone. Not a throw from Florian. How did he do it? Impossible! The Bulls win over Kent State. Hope you enjoyed it.
PJ Fleck spoke highly about his antidote of confidence. Where's the revive? Everything here is dead. No wins at all. Dead last worst scoring offense, total scoring defense, total defense, one of the worst in third down offense and defense, turnover margin, and some of the worst blowout losses we've seen in the current era of college football. I was gonna say put 0-12 on your sweatshirt, and I don't think it does you any good because look what it did last year. It looked less like a boost of momentum and more like a premonition. A true jack of no trades. Master of fuck you. Seeing as how their football program smells like the QBR of Jeff Sims, Kent State has their priorities in check, as rather than caring about the quality of their sports, they're way more invested in a true icon of life. Credit score. I'm sure with all the not coaching you've been doing that you've been putting all of your focus on that. Well, that'll do it. Get out! Get out!
Oh my God! They killed Kenny!
I can't figure out whether or not they were actively looking for a reason for this to occur, but whether or not they did, they had no choice. Along with the unpaid debt, he had a 6-figure loan for a university booster, clear violation of the Code of Ethics. Somehow the NCAA is cool with that. Thus, Kenny finishes his one and only coaching tenure at 1-23. Central Connecticut State has never felt such shame. At this point, Kenny is nowhere to be found. He's either accepted his fate and is playing golf somewhere in Florida, or we'll see him make his triumphant return at a school that can't run the football. So Colorado. The only thing Kent State got out of it is a dead football program and a buyout that'll probably cost them every cent of their NIL fund. I'm not sure whether or not the Golden Flashes will ever recover from this 2-year football aneurysm, but as Michael Weston can tell you, when you're burned, you got nothing. See you next time, and power to Tardaria.
Delane in motion. Keen on third down. Delivers. Moss gathers. Jalen Moss, a move. Moss lost the football in the end zone. Recovered by Fresno State for a touchdown. for Fresno State.